Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. I, of course, am your host, Jason Hageman. Always joining me is the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. But today, we are also joined by the matchmaker, the man that has all the plans for BTC Fight Promotions matchmaker, Rob Veevers. Rob's going to come on, talk to us about all the upcoming plans for BTC 10, which is like literally just almost 2 weeks away. I can't even believe that. But we'll keep Rob on as well to maybe chat a little bit of the happenings of MMA. But guys, Rob, first of all, how are you? Nice for you to join us.
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Josh, how are you? How was everyone's long weekend? Because it was a long weekend here in Canada.
Like I was saying, yeah, it didn't feel like I forgot about it. To be actually, it was just another day. But yeah, it was good, man. You know.
Yeah, quiet over here too.
Yeah.
Did Jason freeze up?
He looks like it. Eh?
I'm here.
Your
I'm
face
here.
is frozen.
Oh. Well, that wouldn't be the first time that we've had.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah. Well, you know what? It's good that everyone had themselves a good weekend. Things were kind of quiet on the MMA front. Josh and I were putting some work in for BTC 10. And well, Rob, while you're here, let's just chat about BTC 10. I mean, 2 weeks away in Vancouver, your first show out of the province of Ontario. How'd this all come about?
Well, basically, came about. I've been talking to Jay at BFL for basically a full year. Essentially, there were some rumors that BC might be coming back early, so I was kicking tires to see if there was a way to work together on something or what have you, which is essentially what we're doing. He's kind enough to let us use his cage and his venue, the whole production setup and everything that he's got going on. So it's sort of been a year in the making. We didn't want really to have to do this, but with COVID being what it is, and now Ontario is as pitiful with this whole thing as they've proven to be, is really the only option that we've had to give guys an opportunity to fight, and that's what we're doing. So we're excited about it. I'm really excited to take the show on the road, and I wish it wasn't in these circumstances, but yeah, we're loading up the bus and heading west. Yeah,
it's going to be exciting times. Josh, you have any questions?
What's BC? I mean, any place is better than Ontario, right?
Yeah.
What's their limitations right now? Obviously, there's no fans. But
certainly, yeah.
Is there any fans at all?
None. You, me, and Jason. Terry and Irene. They'll have to be loud and proud, regardless of the outcome of these things. But yeah, there'll be no fans. Anybody that's in the building is there either for work purposes, whether that's security or which is obviously bare bones, but security, ambulance, that sort of thing. There are a couple designated social distance inspectors, a very highly sought after position, as you can imagine. I think there'll be a couple of members of the media, like Jay, his name Jay Brand from MMA Succa. MMA Empire is going to be there. And I'm waiting to hear from Bronstetter too. I thought I heard he might be coming, but I don't know for sure. But anyways, it will be very few folks in the building. So that'll be quite an experience in itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's the one thing we've noticed in the pandemic era is these cards where it's like you can kind of hear everything. So I'm interested to see how that works, doing commentary and stuff like that. But what was it like putting together a card like this, Rob, where you've got some people you got to fly in from, Ontario to BC and working with BC, like kind of a different experience for you, I feel.
It was pretty different. I mean, the more challenging part was, and it wasn't even really that challenging. I mean, everybody from top to bottom with this thing is dealing with COVID and what it is, and their options are work or not work. So literally everybody that I spoke to and let them know how things were going to shake down, given the fact that there's no fans for that kind of revenue. So obviously do you want to do this live? I'm getting a real. You want to hear how this is going to shake down?
you want me to mute you? As obviously Rob's got a call to take, a work.
You guys want to talk about the UFC? Will I deal with this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, for sure. We can. I'll mute you, Rob. Yeah. Well, Rob's obviously working on both ends, business wise and whatnot. But yeah. So we'll get back to Rob and obviously talking about BTC. But Josh, there was a UFC card on Saturday. Cody Garbrant versus Rob Font, main event. And it was a it was a one-sided fight, but for people saying Cody Garbrandt, didn't look that great. He was at one point, looking for the big one punch, but I thought he fought well and smart at moments, using his wrestling and not freaking out and needing to brawl when he maybe in the past would have.
Yeah, I obviously had a little bias, right? I trained with Cody and I picked him to win, but I thought, his speed would be the difference in this fight, and he did have some good moments in the fight for sure. But Font just, man, like he stayed so disciplined and stuck to his game plan. And his biggest thing was the reach, man. And I can attest to that. When somebody has reach and they know how to use it, it's such a bitch, man. It's such a pain in the ass to deal with. And Font's jab was the difference maker in the fight, I think, and gave Cody all kinds of problems. And Cody did blitz and hit him with some good stuff, but Rob just good guard, good defense, and took it well, and just kept coming with that pressure. So credit to Font, man. He looked great, and that was a beautiful performance.
Where do you see Rob Font going next, Josh? Because kind of bantamweight in the UFC is in this interesting scenario. Like, we're not sure if the champion Sterling's going to fight. He did have neck surgery, so we're not sure what his status is, with the recovery. Obviously, if there's an interim title, you'd think Peter Yan would have to be in the mix, but there's still obviously Rob Font coming off this win. And on July, we have Corey Sandhek and TJ Dillasaw, where you feel the winner of that fight would probably jump into a interim title fight if there is one.
Yeah, he's kind of in that. He's at the fifth wheel right there in amongst those top five. If I was him, he said he didn't want to fight backwards, so I get that. I understand. I would want to do the same thing if I was him. So either, depending how long Aljamain's out, I guess, I would give him an interim shot, him and Yan. That could be the case. Or he can wait around for the winner, or he could fill in if something was to happen with TJ and Sandhagen. He could fight either one of them, but he's right in that top, five, probably, or number one contender fight swing. So, it just kind of depends on how all those things kind of pan out.
Yeah, because obviously, you're kind of so close to that title shot, and I think obviously maybe waiting out to see if there's an injury to Sandhagen or to Dillasaw, obviously there's been a history. This fight's been moved before. But would you be obliged, like, obviously if the fight hopefully goes down between Corey and TJ, that the loser of that fight, if Font wanted to, if he fought that guy, because there's name recognition really in that division for both, whoever comes up in the losing end, that would help, I think, elevate Font.
But I think he's so close to a title shot. I don't think he would want to fight the loser of it, to be honest. If anything, the winner. I know they're going to be gunning for title shots too, but everybody is. You know what I mean? So it all just depends on the timeline. If he's willing to wait a bit longer, I would wait out for the title fight, or potentially the winner of Sandhagen and TJ. They're going to fight in July. Maybe you could fight the winner and say, October, if he's not getting the title shot, right? So I don't know. It just all depends on his mindset and where he's at, and maybe money will play a big factor in it as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, it's either, maybe fill in or wait and see what happens, as you're now, I guess, number 3 in the division and still waiting to see what ends up happening with the title shot.
Rob's good to go.
Yeah, Rob's good to go. Let me unmute Rob. There you are, Rob.
I'm back.
Just, I guess, lastly, for you, Josh, as you train with Cody, do you think he's done as a top-tier contender at bantamweight? Because if he is, I still think he's a top guy at flyweight if he moves down to that 125-pound division.
No, you're not. He's not. He definitely is still a top tier guy, 100% in the world. You know, everybody's, you know, oh, we lost, write him off, just like everybody is in this MMA game. You know what I mean? And then look at Oliveira. You know, now he's a champ. Like, so people are just so they easily forget, right? So yeah, he's definitely a top guy. You know, like I said, he had good points in the fight. He did some really good things, but Font just did, you know, more things better. You know, there's no shame into losing a guy like that. You know, they're both studs. So yeah, he could definitely easily still be in that top mix at bantamweight. But if he does go down to flyweight, I'm interested in that because like we'll see how he performs there too, right? Because that's a big cut, and I know he hasn't done it yet. So we'll see how he holds up there too, and how his body can handle that.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. I think his flyweight needs some name recognition. I don't know. You have any thoughts on that, Rob?
As far as flyweight needing name recognition?
Or as far as Cody Garbrant, if he went down to flyweight, like.
Well, I think it's so. I don't think he should go down just because he lost, but I think that if he can do it safely, and put himself right back into contention there, then go for it. I think that 35 is pretty deep, and 25 is a little bit more shallow, so he may be able to get to a title faster that way. But to Josh's point, I don't think he's done. But yeah, Saturday was a tough night for him, that's for sure. But Rob Font, everyone's been writing him off for the last little while, and look what he's done.
Yeah, exactly. He's put on a big win streak. Obviously, the Marlon Moraes win was huge, and a part of that win streak, he beat Sergio Pennis, who's now the Bellator bantamweight champion. So he's put some names together, and it was a tough night for Cody. June 5th, Rob, it's going to be a fun night with BTC 10 going down in Vancouver. As you were telling us before, you had to take this very important call. You know, what were some of the, I guess, difficulties of putting what are some of the difficulties of putting this card together with, you know, people from all around and with, you know, certain travel restrictions in play?
Well, the one thing right off the hop was that it was 100% Canadian talent only, which really at the end of the day is better, I think, than having options south of the border, simply because the whole idea of this thing is to showcase the Canadian talent and create more opportunities for the Canadian guys that otherwise wouldn't get one. And we have 22 guys right now that are right here in Canada that, you know, if we weren't doing a show, they would be waiting for the next opportunity. Some of the challenges, and I don't want to say this prematurely because we're white knuckling our way to the end here, but it's been pretty smooth sailing. The matchups, there was only one matchup I had to change because a guy got injured, and another matchup we had to make a little weight fluctuation because somebody was a little heavy. Outside of that, it's been smooth sailing. I was hoping to. I'm really happy with what we've got here. It's been smooth sailing, like I said, and no real hurdles or no real issues. Standard medical and licensing stuff that you would deal with at this stage of the game, and it's all good. I'm super excited about it, and a lot of these guys, to be honest with you, I hadn't heard of until their coach put their name on the hat, and I watched a couple of videos, and there's a couple dudes in here that no one's ever heard of that they will absolutely be talking about on Sunday the 6th, no question.
Yeah, me and Jason we did some interviews last weekend with majority of the guys. We still got a few more to go, but yeah, we looked on paper, and I was trying to do some homework on a lot of the guys, and obviously there's a lot of guys making their debut. You know, 0-1, 1-0. You know, very smaller records, anyways. Was it easier to deal with those type of fighters because they're just eager to get in there right away, rather than a guy like, you know, a vet like someone with a lot of fights?
It's funny that you say that because we were dealing with a vet to try to put something together that didn't end up transpiring, but the vet was a lot more difficult. And not difficult because he was asking for this or that or whatever, just tougher to match them up. Yeah, I was flooded with a pool of names and stuff like that, and it was just sort of get them on the board and pair them all up. And there's a ton of different style matchups that, like a grappler versus striker stuff in a majority of these fights that didn't exactly happen on purpose, but the way that they've worked out. But yeah, the guys are eager. Of course, at this stage too, the coaches really have a ton of influence on what step they're going to take and who they're going to fight. So those conversations were pretty good. pardon me. The one with Jake Gavro and Izudin Atman, that one came together like that. It was, I talked to Jake Peacock, who's Atman's coach. He gave me some of the rundown on him. You know, he's got 50 Muay Thai fights, this and that. He's 19 at 135. Quick call over to Jeff Harrison up in New Era. I said, I got this kid that's got 50 Muay Thai fights. He's 19 years old, and he goes, done. Let's go. Jake's got 50 plus grappling matches and countless gold medals, this and that. Let's put the two youngsters together, and 15 minutes later we were done. So those were great, and a lot of them came together similarly. But everything's so far so good.
You want to say something?
No, go ahead, Josh.
As of right now, I know we were kind of talking. We weren't 100% sure on exactly the main event. Can you say who? Do you have anything solidified yet? Can you say?
Yeah, so that's now the card as it is now is in cement as far as what we're going to see. So Josh and Lucas are going to be the main event at 145, and that was originally slated to be the co-main event. We were working some things heavy duty the last couple of weeks behind the scenes to make something happen, and it didn't come to fruition and effectively ran out of time. But I think that that the main and co-main event slot that we've got right now with Josh and Lucas, probably as far as Canada versus Canada, it's probably the best, definitely at featherweight, but one of the best matchups that we can put together as far as the top of the tier guys in the country. That aren't on big shows, obviously, but Josh and Lucas they're going to come in, and there's some bad blood from like even a year ago between these two guys. They're supposed to fight a couple times, so I think that's going to be a hell of a way to close the show out. And Jake Mcdonald and Xavier Nash slide right into that co-main event perfectly. That's another fight that's really got me fired up, because not many people know who Jake Mcdonald is. But I was fortunate. I think, Josh, you were on the same card as him. It wasn't his night back in WSOF, but I remember being there, and I think we might have even talked about it. But he's a scrappy guy. He's on the shelf since then, but he's been training with David Lee, improving immensely. And we know what Xavier Nash brings to the table in the last couple fights he's had for us with BTC. So I'm super excited about those two fights for sure.
Yeah, just talking with Jake and Xavier, they really hyped me up for the co-main. And obviously, we still need to talk to the guys in the main event, because I'd like to get some more info on them. Yeah. Obviously, this fight was, I believe, was it originally supposed to be in BFL, and then it somehow got shifted over the BTC card?
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes there, but Jay with his card, he had, I think at one point he had like 17 fights for his show. So when we decided we were going to head west, and there was the conversations that we were having, he was more than happy to hand the ball off to us with regards to that one. And there was a couple others that we had the option to absorb that we left for him.
Yeah, and and looking, you kind of mentioned it, like, you're getting a lot of Canadian talent. Josh touched on, like, there's a lot of debuting fighters, and by my count, it's like 15 fighters on this card are making their pro debuts. And for BTC, like, it's kind of the point for you guys to, I guess, start creating some new stars as well. You've had a lot of guys, for you for now 9 shows, and a lot of them have branched off, getting big opportunities, whether it's XFC or anywhere else. And now it's, I guess, time for you to start the next generation of BTC, I guess.
Yeah, and that's a good spot to be in, really. I mean, I not that I was ever really like scrambling for fights, but if you recall Ottawa, I think we were left with 5 after injuries and some other nonsense. This show will feel a lot like that one in the respect that there's nobody watching the fight. There was Ottawa was a ghost town. Yeah. That's an event we just kind of breeze right past, but I don't know where I was going with that. What's it called? The debut guys. Yeah. So there's been guys that have gone on to bigger shows or bigger opportunities, whether it be the US straight up to the UFC, Contender Series, XFC, what have you. that's great that the champion stuff that's happening, but we really want to develop the divisions a little bit deeper and really start creating some more of these star athletes to get up to the next level, right from the grassroots level. And we're spreading it pretty far here. We got, Ontario, Alberta, BC, all covered, a couple different nationalities. As always, we like to have a couple females on the card. We got that again. So yeah, I think it's great that we're going to be able to grow different divisions, and what I'm sure we'll touch on very briefly later on is what's kind of down the road. And as COVID might have, kicked us in the teeth a little bit the last year, we're going to be kicking in the groin coming out of 2021. Yeah,
I think this will be, as far as this event, you won't have as many bigger names in the country, but I think that it'll play dividends later on when you can use all these guys that you now have and build them up as future stars for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we would all like to have the, pick Shane Campbell versus Kyle Prepelec.
Yeah. That's a good one right there.
Pretty tasty matchup there. But when there's no fans in the building, there's obvious restrictions that we're faced with. And this isn't a sprint for us. This is a marathon. And one way to sort of shoot yourself in the foot right off the bat is to blow your wad a little prematurely and not be able to afford to keep going on down the road. So there's some advantages to having the debut guys on the card on the fiscal side of things, but down the road, it's going to pay off in droves, and we can look up and down the card, and there's guys on there that people are going to be talking about for a while.
Yeah.
I think one of the guys, just from doing our pre-fight interviews, is Isaiah Medituk, like McLovin. He was instantly one of the better personalities just from talking with him. Like, very young. He's coming off a fight where he literally had one of the nastiest cuts I've ever seen that kind of went viral. It looked like he had a hatchet go through his forehead. But this is a guy that I think has a lot of potential. Like I was saying to Josh after we're done his interview, like, hope you guys sign him and like he builds up his regional scene career with the BTC brand.
Yeah, that one came. That was actually, come to think of it, he's filling in. Well, I shouldn't say filled in, because the other guy that Broderick was supposed to fight had sort of just vanished. It was one of those things where they were the first one to the front of the line to say they wanted to fight, and then once they said, okay, hang on, how about this, they sort of just disappeared. So Isaiah had been bugging me, and I don't mean that like he was a pain in the ass by any means, but he would politely check in every so often and say, hey, just so you know, I'm around, I'm ready, I'm training, I'm hungry, yada, yada. And so then I finally was like, hey, I got something at 45 for you if you want. I know you want 35, but I got something at 45 for you in a couple of weeks. What do you think? Let me talk to my coach. Quick, boom, done. Let's go. And he and I spoke probably a year ago when things were sort of getting real antsy for people, and he was trying to make his pro debut. He was doing all that he could, and he was able to get that out of the way in March, and then he's going to keep the train rolling. So we're happy to have him a part of the group.
Yeah, he was an interesting character for sure. I look forward to seeing him fight, and like as you mentioned, Jake McDonald. he was a funny cat, man. He was telling us that how he went into the jungle, did some ayahuasca, changed his whole life, and now he just wants to get in there and kill.
Okay.
Yeah. pretty much gave us the Clubber Lang prediction. Yeah. Pain. That was his main prediction for the fight in the co-main slot against Xavier Nash.
Well, we've seen Xavier, like I said, in his past couple fights with BTC, and he's no stranger to pain, and it's going to take a lot to get rid of him. Like that fight with Hudson was down to the wire, and I remember that pretty distinctly. Going looking into whoever I was with, saying I'm not sure who's getting this one done. That was pretty damn close. So if Xavier brings that type of a game to the table, it's going to be a fun one.
I guess obviously, you know, as you guys are rolling out the show in a couple of weeks there in June 5th in BC, do you have anything else really lined up? As you said, you're going to be coming out kicking for 2021. And where do you see the scene right now going on the regional side right now in Canada, Rob?
Well, we've sort of like this whole year that we've been off, and tons of credit to Sherry for not giving up, waving the white flag, or literally taking a day off. We've been working on, you know, behind the scenes sort of thing on improving and game planning. As soon as we're able to go, we're going to hit the ground running. So if we're already sort of pre-planning a show for July, we've got the green light to do a show without fans in Ontario in our venue. So as soon as we can do that, we'll need like 6 days notice. It's going to happen, and just going to keep banging them out. And I think we're probably realistically 4 shows this year by the end of it, maybe 5 if I can get my way and if things can work out the way that we'd like them to. I think it's safe to say that we'll have 5 in the can by the end of 21, and on to 2022.
You hear that, fighters? Get your licensing, get everything organized, because when
don't be silly, Jason. Don't be silly. God, that's so frustrating. Get me a fight, I'll get my license. No, how's that? No, you get your license, I'll get you a fight.
Oh, how I don't miss fighting in Ontario.
Well, the best part is that we're in BC, and the medicals there are fine. There's no issue with them. They're not nearly as intrusive as the Ontario ones, but for some reason, there's still a couple of guys that are just really in love with CAT scans and MRIs because, oh yeah, I'll get my stuff done next week, just waiting on my MRI appointment. Well, what the fuck for? You don't need one. Eyes, blood, physical, done.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. But we still managed to mess that up. And that's just, I've come to terms with, no matter, it could be spell your name correctly on paper, somebody will mess that up.
You're dealing with fighters, Rob.
No, this is why I've come to terms with it. I've come to terms with it.
You're dealing with athletes, not just fighters.
Well, Rob, you're dealing with, you know, kind of working with BFL for the shows. You said they're lending you the cage. Do you kind of see that being a little bit of the model right now to get the ball going again with some of these, you know, shows like teaming up, like you with another promotion or whatnot, as, you know, we kind of start to come out of this haze of the pandemic heading into 2022?
Well, I think the ones that are willing to do stuff like this are the ones that are going to continue to succeed. And they're also the ones that have been successful. I think there'll be some not pushback, but it's not like a ton of people are wanting to team up and let me help you, you help me, this type of thing. And again, like for BFL, they were interested in maybe coming this way. So we'd be open to doing a back-to-back type of thing in our hometown with them. Like, it's whatever's going to grow the sport at the end of the day, and whatever's going to shine light on their show, our show. At the end of the day, there's going to be, at the end of the weekend of July 7th, on that Sunday, what is there going to be? Like 40 guys that are going to have attention on them. You know what I mean? And that's what's important. They're all going to get a fight. Half of them are going to win, and they're all going to get, you know, some attention and a fight when hundreds of other guys in the country haven't been able to, with shows not being able to go. So yeah, I hope that this is something that we can do. But in the past, you guys know this all too well, that people think that the sport is fighting, therefore the competitors have to fight or whatever. Like you can't be friends with that promoter because you're friends with me and all that nonsense. That's ridiculous. It's for the greater good. We're all hoping to push this thing forward, and that's what we're doing this coming couple of weeks.
It's good to see that it reminds me of how the fighters used to be in Canada back when I started. It was like, you know, Ontario versus Quebec, you know what I mean? And then gym versus gym. You couldn't I couldn't really cross train that much. And then now it kind of broke the mold, and kind of everybody could train with everybody to get everybody better instead of fighting each other. So it's the same kind of thing with the promotions, right?
Yeah, except for the fact that there's too much cross promotion going on, because that sometimes makes my life a little bit challenging, because there's some phantom training going on, or you get the guy that's trained with so-and-so one time and now they're best buddies. And
for matchmaking. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass that way. And to some degree, there's other guys that they don't give a shit who it is, that like, yeah, we might have trained together a couple times, but that doesn't mean we can't spar, but also for money.
Yeah.
It's a mentality thing. If somebody gets their ass whooped in the training room, they're not going to sign up to fight that same guy in 6 weeks' time. It's just not going to happen.
You know, going back to looking at the card, Rob, you kind of touched on this fight. You have two 19-year-olds fighting on this card. This is a fight I know you've been kind of hyping up, and you know, with guys that are so young with a lot of like, you know, Muay Thai experience or Taekwondo experience, like I feel like obviously a 19-year-olds being 19-year-olds are ready to just put on a show. I think this is one of the fights that could be a sleeper on a card full of a lot of debuting guys.
I might have said that exact thing in a previous interview, that this was the sleeper fight of the card. Because again, there's not a ton of information on these guys. Nobody really knows who they are, what they're going to do. And in my limited knowledge of them, or watching what I'm able to watch on them, I'm fired up because they're going to go balls to the wall, no question about it. But they won't be. I don't imagine they're going to be reckless because they've got 50 competition bouts on each of them. So I think they'll be composed when they get in there. And this is going to be the new generation. So they've been doing MMA from jump, right? Whereas before, where Josh, when you started, you were more wrestling based, right, or kickboxing based with Alin, right? One discipline versus all of them. Fair to say.
I was kind of like the start of the new breed.
Okay.
Jump starting in MMA. I didn't have a background specifically at all, but
okay.
Yeah, you're right. Nowadays, all the kids, it's like they started with
At
MMA at
12.
like 8. Yeah.
When did you start?
21.
Yeah. So these guys are like, flip the numbers, 12. They're in the gym at 12, learning how to do, you know, 4-piece combos and that sort of thing. Like it's.
I wish, man. I wish I got kids in my gym that are like 6. You know what I mean? Already starting. So like, if I had that background, I can just imagine like at 19, I was just a fan of the sport. I wasn't even training yet. Now these guys are making pro debuts, right? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. So I'm really excited. There's a bunch of young guys on the card, a couple of older dudes too that are getting a crack at it. But yeah, those two guys for sure. Like I say, that's one that I've got circled and have had circled since the beginning, as this is one to, you know, you're not taking a pee during that fight. That's for sure.
The benefit of having these guys, like the debut guys or very little records is a lot of the time they obviously they want to start their careers with a bang. You know, they want to make a statement, and usually those fights are very, very action packed. So it should be good for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, we know for a guy that's on this card, Paul Fischer, when he made his debut at BTC 6, he had, you know, the perfect fight to start a card against Tisha Guthrow. Obviously, it didn't go his way. It was stopped by a cut, but it's great to see Paul back on a BTC card because that guy's excitement personified.
Yeah, he was actually, or his manager was like the first call that I made when I knew we were going out west, was like, let me give those, because him and Mike McClune.
Is that the 6?
Yeah. But they moved out to BC.
Oh, they're at the BC now.
Yeah, Paul and Mike McClune moved out west to Kelowna. Okay. I can't remember exactly why, but it was, I think Paul had like a personal thing that sent him out there. And him and Mike worked together at the restaurant here in town. They're good buddies. So he's like, what am I doing here in shitty Toronto? Let's check out less shittier Vancouver. Or Kelowna rather. So Kelowna's probably pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that was the first call, hoping to get Mike and Paul back on the show, because it's always nice to have familiar faces. We know they're great athletes, but they're no nonsense when it comes to getting their stuff done. And as far as medicals, licensing, and all that stuff goes. So they're guys that you want to work with.
Reliable, yeah.
They're reliable. And not only that, we like McClune's given us a hell of a fight with his scrap with Connors. And Fischer with Tisha, like that. Those were two awesome fights that we had. Why wouldn't you want to have those guys back?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another fight, as you said, Rob, you love the ladies on the card. And I think the women's fight on this card, Joe Mazino versus Maria Jukic. Obviously, it's the debut for Maria, but Joe's someone I've been excited to see. She had a tough debut against Marissa Croden a couple of years ago. COVID obviously derailed any of that, but a strong competitor on the jiu-jitsu side. But she's been trying to, been lined up to fight on some BTC cards before, just didn't work out. And now she's finally here.
Yeah, this one, I don't know if I had reached out to her or if she had reached out to me, but this was another one that was pretty quick. I mean, obviously the options for female athletes is pretty thin compared to obviously the guys, but it was like, okay, I need a 35 or okay, make a call, cool, you're okay, make the call on the other side, knowing full well like Joe's a purple belt world champion in jiu-jitsu. That's been her thing for a very long time. She's a jiu-jitsu fighter. So I'm really interested to see how this fight's going to play out because I think Marie leans more on the striking aspect of things. And with those dudes over at Toshido, there's no easy days at work out there. So I obviously knowing and following Joe for as long as I have, I know that she doesn't take any days off and she's constantly working. And the training videos that I've seen, the footage that I saw prior to booking this fight with Maria, she's not fucking around either.
No, and that's the sense you're getting from a lot of these fighters. It's like they just can't wait. They've been itching at it. They've been locked up at home for a year, ready to just go out and finally get their debuts and have a breakout performance on a show that's for a well-represented regional promotion like you guys are at BTC, and a show that is available for everyone to purchase on iPPV.
Yeah, this is unfortunately it's only iPPV. BTCfight.ca/live is where you can find the link. Up until I don't know when we're gonna change it, but for now, you go there to that site, you pull up. There's a list of all the athletes that are on the card. If you have a favorite one, you can select them. They will get a piece of that action, but you'll also save $10 on the purchase of the pay-per-view as well. So I highly recommend people to head out and pre-purchase the fights to support the athletes because I like I said, I don't know the day, but it'll likely be weigh-in day or the day before that we wipe that off and put it back up to $30 or $35 for the pay-per-view, and then that way you can't support who you're hoping to support. So do it now. It takes 30 seconds. Get it out of the way, and get yourself set up for June the 5th.
Got the link in the description box, everyone. So if you want to go click that, you can get yourself this great pay-per-view for a lot of debuting fighters as we've talked about.
One thing I think that I have yet to mention on any of the different conversations that I've had. So we're starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So all of our friends that are hoping to watch their buddies that are from Toronto or the surrounding areas, 7 o'clock Eastern time is when this will kick off, 4 p.m. out west. So we are making a slight adjustment to do two things. One, appease our Eastern fans, but also keep me out of the doghouse by letting me fly home Saturday night so that I will be home Sunday morning for my son's birthday party.
There you go. That's the most important thing right there, Rob.
I almost wasn't able to come because of his birthday.
Made it happen.
I forgot all about it.
I guess no after party, eh, buddy?
Well, it depends. If we can get in and out of here, I don't leave till like 11:30, so I might be able to have a couple drinks.
Sneak a few in before you head out.
Yeah, put some in my pockets for the runway.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Rob. I mean, this has got to be exciting. I mean, it's got to be exciting for you on show day because it's all your hard work that you've mapped out and you've lined up. You know why these fights are going to maybe work so well, and it's got to be so exciting for you come June 5th to see your hard work come to fruition.
It is. It's always, regardless of. I mean, not that we've had like one really snoozer fight out of all the shows that we've done. But, win, lose, or draw, I'm really happy with how things end up panning out. I know how much hard work the guys and the girls put into the preparation for it and all that stuff. And even the team behind the scenes, like Patrick works his butt off. Like you guys know But nobody knows how hard Patrick works behind the scenes. Nobody knows how hard Sherry's working behind the scenes. And she runs laps around Patrick and I. If he and I think we work hard, we just look at what she's doing and just shake our heads and go, we can't even compete. Vlad is another integral piece of the party. He works really hard. He does drop of a hat. He's doing whatever you need him to do, and he helps everybody. And there's probably a couple other folks that I'm forgetting about that have important roles as well. But it's a full team effort. It's a very small group of people that help run this thing. And even with you guys, with the stuff that we're taking, like what were you guys, 6 hours on Saturday trying to talk to these guys and do these interviews and stuff? Like,
it was a whole afternoon. Yes.
Yeah, not easy. And I've got the access to the BTC Instagram, and all day the thing was going nuts. Where I could tell it was Patrick trying to track people down. Like, where the hell are you? Da, 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 da. And I'm going like, man. I told him, I said, I'm going to forward you the email that everybody got in advance of this thing, so that you don't think I'm the one that's messing this thing up. You know, but it sounded like it went really well anyway. So your guys' hard work is appreciated, and the broadcast will show that, I'm sure.
You mentioned, I know, like we talked a little bit of details, not going to say anything yet, but for July show, you're hoping anyway. Say this show gets done, do you already have like a next crop of guys you plan on using, or you look to carry over some of the guys that just fought in June, depending on
there'll be some guys that carry over for sure, but it'll be a similar model to this one, although I think, without giving it away, I think we might be able to have some fans, if not a full boat, believe it or not. Yeah. That's Jason's facial expression. Yeah, he doesn't believe a word of what I'm saying. We should know this week from the commission, from the city, and we'll have our fingers crossed. We'll have our answer by the end of the week. What's going to happen in June, or July rather, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and I've already got. Let me pull up my spreadsheet just for fun.
Get that Excel doc working.
Yeah, it's it's funny because I've got for BTC 10, I have Winnipeg, I have Quebec, I've got like 6 different cities that we were gonna go to if we could have. So I had different game plans for each one of them. So BTC 11. So on the left side of my spreadsheet, I have 34 names. And on the right side, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 names on the right side. And that's just me dicking around, like just names. Okay, look, boo, 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 boo. That's not even really going. So when we get to this weekend, pardon me?
You got options.
I got options, and it'll be the fun part then is to start making the call. Like, okay, do you want to do this? Can you do that, or whatever? So Josh can take his gentleman, the fighter hat off, and then put on his hat, and yay or nay, a couple options that I might have for a couple of his studs.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure.
Would Josh then have to leave the booth like Paul Felder did when he had to corner like one of his fighters? Like, I can't be partial in the booth here.
Veevers might have to step up and fill in for a match.
Yeah, I'm happy to wear many hats, and if it's just a heavy breathe into the microphone, I can assure you that's what I will bring to the table with that aspect. Surely not the in-depth analysis that the Josh brings, but I'm sure that I can fill the void for 18 minutes.
Or less. Or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, if Josh had to make the hot tag out, I mean, you know, his great uncle was a former tag team champion. He can make the tag out, and you can always come in on Rob. But you know, as you're working with BFL, when you look at the BFL card, Rob, a lot of the guys that are in prominent spots in that BFL card got their start with you guys at BTC, like Sirius Edie, he's fighting for a title. Kyron Cameron, he's fighting for a title. I mean, that's got to mean a lot for you guys at BTC, because you guys are a hardworking promotion and just pumping out talent.
Yeah, we're really proud of those guys, and we're wishing them all the best, obviously, in their fights. Bobby was supposed to fight out there too. Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's the part of the process. We're happy to give these guys a platform, an opportunity to compete, to improve their records, to put themselves in positions to fight for regional titles. But BFL has a long history of sending, whether it be their champions or just guys that have had long-standing tenure with them, off to the bigger shows. So if that's how it's going to work, where the guys get a handful of fights with us and they move on to another one, to whether it's just fight or to compete for a title or whatever, the sky's the limit for everybody. So the more and this is exactly why we're going out west in a couple of weeks, is to give guys more opportunity and gals more opportunity to compete, and wherever it takes them, it takes them. So we're really proud of those guys that have come through the BTC cage wherever they go, whether it's, if they come from out of town and they go back to their place and they continue to do well, we're happy for them too. Or they graduate to the big show, Aaron Jeffrey and Jasmine and folks like that Kyle Nelson's another one, Kyle Prepluck's another one. Like, in a short period of time, we've sent a shitload of guys and girls off to bigger opportunities. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Josh. No, go ahead.
BFL's been around. How many shows have they had now?
Like 40 something.
Yeah. So
they've been around 10 years.
Credit to them. They've been around, 4 times as long as BTC's.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, what you guys can become as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's the goal. It's just longevity. It's not, this isn't some sort of like get rich quick scheme where we'll, smash and grab a few $100 and off we go. Like I said, it's a marathon, and it's about the platform. It's about giving guys the exposure. We've got another deal set up with UFA in the States to broadcast the show down the road. So, and that's put so many eyes on these guys as it is. So we're pumped to be able to do that again. They're always working on other opportunities, whether it be on the sponsorship side or on the broadcast side of things. And like I said, there's big things to come the rest of this year and onward.
I have a question, maybe a idea. What if you did? Yeah, you're working with BFL now, and possibly other organizations in the future.
Yeah,
BTC champ versus BFL champ.
Already in the works.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Yeah,
I don't know when, but that's definitely something that we'd like to do.
Let's call it like Canadian champ or something like that. You know what I mean?
Something like that. Like, it would be cool if we could really hype it up to be something really big, and maybe make a custom belt that's got some of BTC shine to it and some BFL stuff to it. Not as gimmicky as the BMF belt, but sort of kind of a one-off type of thing. That's certainly something we would like to do down the road as well, because we see that BFL is they keep their guys active. They pump the shows out. They got a great deal with the casino and the and Fight Pass and stuff like that, and they've done 40 or 50 shows, so they're not fooling around with what they're doing. So the talent that comes out of there, like Achilles, is a savage. That young dude. There's three guys, like the dude that Zach Powell's fighting. He looked. I mean, technically, I don't know that he's like top of the heap at this stage yet, but the way that he went in there and iced Craig Shantani the way that he did, I was blown away. With Achilles' savage beating of Curtis Damaris, who's got 30 fights, and Achilles 11. Like, those dudes are legit. Like, they're tough, they're technical, and they're fun to watch. So that 185 fight too with Gordon Cunningham is one that I'm going to keep my eye on too.
Yeah. You know what? You should definitely call it, if you get this worked out, Rob. You got to call it the Great Canadian Bash.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of course.
You got to call it that.
Back, absolutely.
Got to call it that.
Lumberjack on the belt, some shit like that.
Well, there might be some copyright infringement with some East Coast promotion there, but
that's right.
But that's that'll take us to court.
Well, you're talking about working with all these promotions, and obviously you have to, by circumstance, do the show in Vancouver. Rob, was ever the plan to leave Ontario? Like, if COVID wasn't a thing, would you guys have potentially looked at taking your shows outside of Ontario?
If COVID didn't happen?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
You guys were talking about that, weren't you?
Well, I know that like the consensus was that we'd love to do a show in Vegas. I love Las Vegas, like not as a kid, but
let's do Vegas, bro. I miss Vegas. It's been too long, right? I need a Vegas trip.
Yeah, dude, it's so I love it there. It's so much fun. I was looking at buying something down, like a house down there, just kind of off the strip a little bit because it's ridiculously affordable. But that's how much I love it. The Oakland Raiders are my football team, now the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's easy. A big fight fan. I've been known to tickle the felt a little bit in the casinos from time to time. And I'm a big hockey fan, which in fact I'm missing the Habs and Leafs game right now.
I believe your Habs are against it right now. Last I checked,
down 1-0. That's okay, no problem. But anyways, big hockey fan. So there's tons of reason for me to want to go down there. But the fight capital of the world, we'd love to go do a show down there. And Fight Night's already done it. They partnered up with Tough Enough, so there's there's already a model there that we could sort of copy, I guess, or follow that trend. And Jeff Mayer is a nice enough guy. I've had a chat with him online a few times. He's a nice dude. So there's definitely that's always been on the top of the list. But as far as taking it inside Canada, the idea has always been there, but I don't think it ever had any real traction or any weight because to stuff everything in a transport truck and haul it across the country is tough to do when doing a show in your own backyard is challenging enough.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough thing to do. And thanks to BFL for lending the cage. And most importantly, thanks to BC for letting us have a show. It's been way too long.
Yeah, thanks to BC for letting us have a show. And thanks to BC for allowing people on patios. They're doing that in full effect right now. So that's even though I'm there for like 40 hours, I still have plans to stop at a patio and slam a pint or two and have some eats with my friends and people I haven't seen in a long time. So
they have a little more logical thinking people that run the province, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's as little as 4 people at a table or any of that nonsense. I think it's just like open. I don't know for sure. It's kind of just I'll see what happens when we get there. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it as much as eating and drinking with friends and stuff like that is exciting to me. I'm mostly pumped up about the fights and being able to get back to it. It's been well over a year now that we were going back at it. We had such a great end to 2019 and Kitchener really kicked us off well last year. And then it was just sort of like the last little bit of a balloon when it just sort of, that's kind of how March of 2020 went.
Yeah, I know it's crazy that, maybe it was just the bad juju of booking a show on Leap Day in Kitchener. Maybe that's what set us in the wrong thing. I don't know. But all in all, I'll be happy to get back, see you guys. More importantly, as you said, see some fights. And, you talked about a couple sleeper fights. What's another fight that people really may not know, Rob, as we only got a little bit of time left that, people should maybe get on their radar?
Yeah, I just realized that I've got a 9:00 meeting with the commission, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to try to sell this damn house, too. A sleeper fight that I'm looking forward to, well, I would have to say the bigger boy, Luke Roberts, and I'm going to butcher his last name, so I won't bother. Luke Roberts and Constantine. Yeah. I think that might be an interesting one because there's not a ton known about either guy outside of a lot of people know or in a quick Google search know that Luke is probably one of the best wrestlers right now, especially in MMA. So that might be an interesting one to watch for. And I like the 175 matchup with Derek Lang and Mac Larson. I think that's going to be a bit of a slugfest there too. But I could go through every fight and give you reasons why I'm excited to see it. I won't, but I'm really fired up. There's not one fight that I'm like, that's probably going to suck, or red corner is going to beat the tar out of blue corner or anything like that. I think they're all even fights, and they're all ones that I'm fired up to see. Yeah,
I think we're all excited for everything. Josh, do you have any final questions as Rob's got a very important meeting about the show in like 4 minutes.
No, I think that's it, man. Look forward to it. Look forward to finally seeing everybody again and getting the feel back of how we were before all this shit happened. Yeah, man, I'm pumped for it.
How are you guys preparing? Are you going to be able to just knock the dust off as your cage side and just slide right into it, or are you watching old fights on mute?
Well, this helps what we're doing.
Yeah.
What I mean? So
Sure.
we're talking every week, so it's not like we haven't spoke for a long time, right? Where you just
Right.
know. So I think we'll be fine.
Do you ever do that? Watch fights on mute and do the play-by-play for it as if it were you calling it?
I've done that sometimes. I actually did it on for 50 seconds or something on like a Ariel Helwani Twitter Spaces thing. So I did that once, but I don't know. I think just working with Josh enough, I think we'll be okay.
There's no your synergy will be fine. I just more mean like calling the fights.
I call fights no matter every fight I watch. Like if I'm not really with many people, I'll just like start talking by myself. You know what I mean? So I'm probably annoying to watch fights with.
Who's that crazy person next door? Oh, that's just Josh doing homework. No big deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way where it's like if I'm alone and I'm seeing fights, like I'll call it like how if I'm there or whatever. But that's just the natural broadcaster part in me. Like even
I'm a little more vulgar though.
I'm sure you are, Josh. I know you got to tone that down. We can't have any F-bombs or anything like that. But that's just the natural broadcaster. Even with like the Leaf game last night, I was like, oh, it's like I'm calling a Ranger game. But, we're waiting for October to do hockey. But thankfully, we got MMA for the summer and going forward here in 2021.
Hopefully a steady stream of it, fellas. I'm hoping by the end of the year, you guys are happy that December comes and we have a break so you don't have to see or talk to me for a few weeks. Because we're coming out of the gate hot and heavy.
Like a Little Caesars pizza, we're hot and ready, coming at you with some great MMA action. And Rob, once again, before I let you go, plug where people can watch the show because this is a big event with 15 fighters making their pro debuts under the BTC banner.
Yeah, thanks a lot. btcfight.ca/live is where you can get the pay-per-view link. As I mentioned earlier, you'll see all the names of the athletes competing. If you've got a favorite one in mind, select that person so that they can get a little piece of the action and you'll save yourself $10 on the card. If you don't have a favorite fighter, you're just a fan of MMA, pick a fighter and support them because they're like everybody else involved in this thing at this moment. Everybody's kind of taking it on the chin a little bit to make it all happen, which is super appreciative. And one way that you can help support those guys is to support them and buy the stream. So please do that. BTC Fight on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook for all the updates and the different cool content that Patrick's banging out and you guys are involved in. So that's where everybody can get the information.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you for stepping on in, plugging BTC Fight because getting this regional scene going back up in Canada is huge. And as always, Josh, great to see you again on a Tuesday night.
Good to see you, fellas.
And we'll see you, Rob, in 2 weeks out there in lovely Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
And I'm going to get a haircut too on the black market. Don't tell anybody.
All right, Rob, Josh, great chatting with you, and we'll see you all in less than 2 weeks in Vancouver, British Columbia for BTC 10.
See you, boys.
See you, boys.